you've scheduled a meeting, and before you send that calendar invite with just a title and a time, I want you to stop.
Please stop. Just hold off for 1 second.
Right, because I want you to picture something first. Recall a time you were sitting in, like a 60-minute meeting. You are 20 minutes in, you're looking around the conference room or, scanning the faces on your screen, and you are actively wondering why you're even there.
Oh man, the universal corporate nightmare.
Exactly. The conversation is drifting, someone is rambling about some tangential project, and your actual productive work is just piling up in the background.
It is a painfully universal experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, that feeling isn't just boredom, right? It's the frustration of watching your most valuable resource, your time, just evaporate simply because someone else didn't do the prep work.
And that shared frustration is exactly why today's deep dive is so crucial. We are looking at a stack of sources today all about one of the most high-leverage professional tools in existence, which is the meeting agenda.
Yeah, and we're not just talking about throwing some casual bullet points on a page, like right before you dial in.
Right. We are talking about writing an agenda in precise, concise English. Because treating an agenda as this administrative busy work is a massive mistake. It's a critical professional skill, it sets expectations, it commands authority, and it absolutely determines whether a meeting succeeds or fails.
Completely agree. I mean, the way you use language to structure a meeting literally dictates the reality of that meeting.
Yeah.
An agenda is fundamentally a psychological contract between the facilitator and the attendees.
A psychological contract, I like that.
Yeah, because when you send a blank calendar invite, you are essentially demanding someone's time while refusing to tell them what you actually plan to do with it.
Right, which brings us to our mission today. We want to equip you with the exact structure, the vocabulary, and the functional language you need to write an agenda that actually respects that psychological contract. Because sending a blank calendar invite to your colleagues is basically like inviting a group of friends on a road trip, telling them to get in the car, but refusing to tell them the destination.
Or how long the drive is, yeah.
Or who is paying for gas. You are basically holding them hostage to the journey without their consent to the destination.
And people notice when that map is missing. Before we even dissect the mechanics of how to write the perfect agenda, we really need to understand the severe organizational cost of that blank invite. A clear agenda is a professional signal.
A professional signal. What do the sources mean by that exactly?
Well, when you send one, you are signaling leadership. You are allowing your team to actually prepare, which naturally elevates the baseline quality of the entire conversation. Without it, the environment just degrades into what the sources call the drifting meeting.
Oh, the drifting meeting. We know it well. That's when someone starts talking about a tangent, and because there's no map, no one in the room feels empowered to say, hey, we are completely off track.
Right, because there's no track to be off of.
Exactly.
The cognitive load on the attendees is just entirely misplaced in those situations. Instead of evaluating ideas or solving problems, they're spending like the first 15 minutes of the meeting just trying to deduce the meeting's underlying purpose.
Okay, but let me push back on this for a second. We live in a highly fast-paced corporate culture. Every team is obsessed with being agile and, moving quickly. Isn't sending a quick bare-bones invite just faster? Doesn't stopping to meticulously draft an agenda with precise language just slow down spontaneous, agile communication?
I hear that all the time, but that illusion of speed is a massive organizational trap.
An illusion.
Yeah. Skipping an agenda might save the sender, 5 minutes of typing in the moment?
Yeah.
But it wastes hours of collective team time on the back end. I mean, if you have 6 people in a 1-hour meeting that drifts, you didn't just lose 1 hour of company time, you lost 6 hours of high-level company productivity.
Wow. Yeah, when you put it like that, it's a huge loss.
Right. True agility doesn't mean moving fast with your eyes closed. It requires total clarity. If everyone walks into a room knowing exactly what we are trying to achieve, we can debate much faster, decide much faster, and be far more agile in our execution.
The false economy of saving 5 minutes to waste 6 hours, that really reframes the whole concept. So if an agenda is this powerful signal of leadership and clarity, what exactly does that signal look like structurally?
Well, the sources outline a very deliberate 7-part architecture, and every single component serves a distinct functional purpose. If you miss these pieces, the foundation of the meeting is shaky before anyone even logs on.
Okay, lay them out for us.
It starts with the logistical baseline. So number 1 is a clear meeting title. Number 2 is the date, time, and location, or, the video link. And number 3 is the attendee list.
The attendee list seems so basic, but it actually establishes the dynamic of the room, doesn't it? I mean, if I see the head of finance on the invite versus just my immediate peers, my mental preparation completely
Oh,
shifts.
100%.
Yeah.
It dictates the level of detail required. So once that logistical baseline is set, we move to the core. Number 4 is the purpose. Number 5 is the agenda items themselves, which, by the way, must be numbered, must have a designated owner, and must have a specific time allocation.
Right. Number, owner, time. Got it.
Then number 6 is any required pre-reading materials. And finally, number 7, a designated contact person for questions or additions to the agenda.
I want to zero in on number 4 there, the purpose. Because in analyzing the sources, this really stood out to me as the ultimate make-or-break element. It acts exactly like the thesis statement of a college essay.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Right, because if your thesis statement is this messy, rambling paragraph, your entire paper is going to be a disaster because you don't actually know what you're trying to prove.
And the translation to the corporate world is so direct. I mean, if you need 3 paragraphs to explain why you are calling a meeting, you're actually trying to cram 3 different meetings into 1 hour.
Yes.
The source material gives a brilliant example of a strong purpose line. It says, the purpose of this meeting is to review Q3 results and align on priorities for Q4.
It's just one single sentence.
One sentence that defines the win condition of the meeting. If you reach the end of the hour and you haven't aligned on Q4 priorities, the meeting failed, regardless of how good the conversation was.
That is such a harsh but necessary metric.
It is. Because if you cannot summarize why you are gathering these human beings together in one single sentence, you lack the internal clarity required to facilitate a group. You just want an audience to talk at. And a meeting is not a substitute for an informal conversation.
So true. So a great purpose line tells attendees the why. It anchors the entire event. But the actual agenda items, number 5 on that structural list, those dictate the what. And looking at the source material, this is where the vast majority of meeting invites just fail miserably. The English used is just so incredibly weak.
Yeah, the language we use for agenda items is where the precision of professional English truly matters. The verbs you choose literally dictate the behavior of your attendees. Let's look at the contrast between weak and strong language from the sources.
Let's do it.
A classic weak agenda item is something like, talk about the project.
Oh my gosh, talk about the project. I've seen that exact phrasing a million times. It's completely passive. As an attendee, I have no idea what my role is. Am I supposed to bring data? Are we brainstorming new features? Are we canceling the project entirely?
Exactly, and that ambiguity creates anxiety. Contrast that with the strong example provided in the source. It says, review project timeline and confirm milestone owners. Then in brackets, it says decision 10 means and lists owner. Sarah.
The verbs there are doing so much heavy lifting. Review and confirm. I know exactly what is expected of me now. And assigning an owner neutralizes that bystander effect. If an item just says project, everyone assumes someone else will lead the discussion.
Right, everyone's just looking around the room. Let's analyze another really common weak example, budget stuff.
Budget stuff is a black box. People will spend hours over-preparing for a budget stuff meeting because they just don't know where the attack might come from.
Yeah, they bring every spreadsheet they own.
Uh-huh.
But the strong alternative from the source is Q4 budget, discuss variance and approve revised forecast, then in brackets, decision 15 months, and owner, finance.
Discuss variance and approve revised forecast. You aren't just staring at spreadsheets. You have a specific measurable objective. But I want to highlight a mechanical trick you just mentioned. You said bracket, decision bracket. The sources place a massive emphasis on categorizing every single agenda item into one of 4 specific types.
This categorization is arguably the most important mechanical skill in writing an effective agenda. You have to clearly define the cognitive task required for each item. So the 4 types are for information, which is your classic FYI, then for discussion, for decision, and finally, action review.
Okay, so FYI, discussion, decision, and action review.
Right. And distinguishing between an FYI and a decision is the single most critical element to get right.
Why is that distinction so important?
Because if you don't explicitly label them, people's brains prepare for the wrong cognitive task. I mean, someone might spend 3 hours preparing rigorous arguments for a decision, only to find out you were just giving a casual informational update.
Oh, that's the worst.
Or, conversely, you need a critical decision today, and everyone showed up thinking it's just a casual update, so literally no one read the underlying data.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate on that FYI category, though. If an item is marked for information and absolutely no decision or debate is needed, Why are we taking up highly expensive meeting time at all? Shouldn't that just be an email? I mean, this feels like the exact scenario that spawned the joke, this meeting could have been an email.
It's a very fair challenge. And in many cases, yeah, FYI should be relegated to asynchronous communication. But sometimes an FYI is too complex for an email, or, more importantly, it sets the crucial, immediate context for the discussion item that directly follows it.
Oh, okay.
The secret to handling FYIs in a meeting actually lies in the time language attached to the item.
Explain how the time language changes the dynamic there.
Well, look at the examples from the text. They attach strict, visible time limits to the FYI items, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. By explicitly labeling an item as FYI and capping it with a strict 10-minute limit right there on the shared document, the facilitator installs a psychological circuit breaker.
A circuit breaker.
Yeah, so when someone starts arguing or raising objections during an FYI update, the facilitator doesn't have to get into a personal confrontation. They can simply point to the agenda and say, hey, this item is just for information, and we only have 2 minutes left on the clock. We're not making decisions on this today, so let's move to the next item.
I love that circuit breaker analogy. The agenda becomes the bad guy, not the facilitator. It gives you the structural authority to cut people off politely, like, sorry, the agenda says this is a 10-minute FYI. It completely neutralizes the personal friction that usually ruins meetings.
Exactly. It protects the core purpose of the meeting from being derailed by those informational tangents.
But even with the right structure, strong verbs, and these brilliant circuit breakers, meetings still go off the rails sometimes. The sources outline 5 common procedural traps, basically mistakes that will ruin a meeting, even if your language is otherwise perfect.
Right? These are the behavioral traps. So mistake 1 is simply being too vague, which we already covered, like project update and update on what. Mistake 2 is overpacking the agenda, allocating way too many items for the scheduled time.
Oh, the 10 items in a 30-minute meeting scenario. We've all seen it. It leaves absolutely no room for actual human discussion, friction, or alignment. You're basically just speed reading a list at people.
Yeah, it forces a rush that completely kills critical thinking. Mistake 3 is omitting the purpose line entirely, which leaves attendees without an overarching why. Mistake 4 is failing to distinguish between a decision and a discussion, causing endless debates that never actually land on a conclusion. And mistake 5. This is the one I see most often in real corporate environments, and honestly, it is the one that frustrates attendees the most.
Let me guess. Sending the agenda too late.
Yes. Sending an agenda the same morning of the meeting is functionally useless.
It's so common, though. People often think, well, I got it out before the meeting started, so it's better than nothing. Why is that logic flawed?
Because it fundamentally misunderstands what an agenda is for. The entire point of an agenda, especially one that includes 4 decision items or attached pre-read documents, is to allow the human brain time to process complex information, formulate questions, and prepare an informed stance.
Right.
If you send a dense agenda at 8:00 a.m. for a 10:00 a.m. meeting, your attendees are likely commuting, clearing overnight emails, or, in other meetings. You have completely defeated the purpose of preparation. The sources strongly recommend setting it 24 to 48 hours in advance.
Sending an agenda 10 minutes before a meeting is basically like handing a stage actor their script right as they step into the spotlight.
That's exactly what it's like.
You cannot possibly expect a nuanced, great performance if they haven't had time to internalize their lines. And yet, in the business world, we routinely expect executives and team members to make multi-thousand-dollar strategic decisions reading cold from a document they opened 30 seconds ago.
It forces shallow, reactive decision-making rather than deep, considered strategy. It also creates enormous anxiety for the attendees, which further degrades their cognitive performance in the room.
To really solidify how all these concepts, the strong verbs, the categorization, the timing come together to prevent that anxiety, let's actually look at the real-world sample agenda provided in the sources. It's titled Team Sciency Q3 Review. Let's analyze how this structure actually dictates the preparation behavior of the recipient.
Perfect. Analyzing the architecture of a good example is really the best way to internalize the rules.
Okay, I'll read the agenda as the sender, and you tell me what you're thinking as the recipient who has to prepare.
Sounds good.
All right, at the very top, we have the logistical block. Date, Thursday, June 19th, 10:00 to 11:00 a.m. EST. Attendees, Morgan, Taylor, Aisha, Priya, Daniel. Call link is included.
Okay, so that's my baseline clarity. The attendee list tells me exactly what the political and operational dynamics of the room will be. I see who's there. I know what level we're operating at.
Then we have the critical anchor, purpose. Review Q3 performance, surface blockers, and align on Q4 priorities.
Right, and that sentence is the filter for the entire hour. If a topic doesn't serve reviewing Q3, surfacing blockers, or aligning on Q4, I know it does not belong in this meeting.
Now we get into the meat of it. Item 1, Q3 results overview. Bracket, FYI, 10 minutes. Owner, Morgan. Pre-read, Q3 dashboard.pdf.
See, notice how much information is packed into that single line? As the recipient, it's marked FYI, so I know I don't need to prepare a defense or a counter-argument. However, there is a pre-read document attached, and because Morgan only has 10 minutes allocated, I know for a fact they're not going to read that dashboard out loud to us. I must read that PDF before I show up,
Yeah.
or I will be completely lost for the rest of the meeting.
Exactly. It sets an implicit standard of accountability. Okay, item 2, blockers engineering bottleneck. Bracket, discussion 15 minutes. Owner, Taylor. But underneath it, the agenda asks 2 specific prompt questions: what's slowing us down, and propose solutions.
That is masterclass facilitation right there. It's marked for discussion, which means my voice is expected. But the prompt questions guide my mental preparation. I'm not just showing up to vent or complain about the engineering team. I am explicitly being directed to bring proposed solutions. The agenda itself is coaching the attendees on how to behave.
Item 3, Q4 priority stack. Bracket, decision 20 minutes. Owner, Morgan. The note says, we will vote on top 3 priorities. Please review options doc before.
And this is the heavyweight item of the meeting. 20 minutes are dedicated to it. It is explicitly marked as a decision, and the mechanism voting is stated clearly. Every attendee looking at this knows they cannot be a passive observer during this block. Their vote will be required on the record.
Item 4, action items from last meeting. Bracket, action review 5 minutes. Owner, all.
Right, so this is often referred to as a standing item, something that happens in every recurring meeting. It's a quick accountability check. By explicitly listing it, everyone knows they will be put on the spot regarding the tasks they promised to complete last week.
And finally, item 5, recap and next steps. 5 minutes. Owner, Morgan.
Dedicating the final 5 minutes to a recap is crucial for ensuring everyone walks away with the exact same understanding of what was just decided. I mean, how often do people leave a meeting with completely different interpretations of who is doing what?
All the time. The recap closes that gap completely. Looking at this whole document, the precision is just beautiful, but, the document itself still has to be delivered. The sources also detail the specific email protocol used to send this out, because how you package the agenda matters just as much as what's in it.
Yeah, the email delivery is the final layer of professional polish. It really frames the document.
The subject line formula recommended is highly clinical but impossible to miss. It's agenda meeting name date.
It ensures the email is instantly recognizable and honestly easily searchable when someone is frantically looking for the Zoom link 2 minutes before the meeting starts.
So true. Then the opening paragraph. You keep it direct and professional. Please find the agenda for meeting name on date below. Please review pre-read document in advance. Or there's an alternative in the sources that I find incredibly effective. It says, hi all, attaching the agenda for Thursday's team sync. Items marked decision will require your input.
I love that one. Highlighting the decision items in the email body is a brilliant tactic. It acts as a beacon, directing the attendees' limited mental energy exactly where it needs to go.
You also always include an invitation for additions before the deadline. Something like, please let me know by Tuesday if you'd like to add any items to the agenda.
And that simple sentence solves so many cultural problems. It creates a closed loop. If someone complains during the meeting that their pet project wasn't discussed, you have a documented paper trail showing they were invited to add it to the agenda beforehand and chose not to. It forces people to be proactive rather than reactive.
It takes the burden of mind reading off the facilitator for sure. So, just to quickly recap the critical vocabulary we've covered today for our listeners, we have the agenda itself, the structural map, the pre-read, which is the required context sent beforehand, facilitation, the act of guiding the meeting using these tools, a standing item, which is a recurring topic, and an action item, the specific task assigned to an owner at the end.
Perfect summary. Those terms are essential for operating at this level.
Bringing all of this back to the core premise we started with, writing a precise agenda isn't an administrative chore that you pawn off. It is an active, highly visible act of leadership. It respects people's most valuable resource, their time, and it naturally commands authority in a noisy corporate environment. It's the tool that transforms a group of disparate people staring blankly at a screen into a focused, aligned unit capable of making actual strategic decisions.
And when you adopt this standard consistently, It doesn't just improve individual meetings, it slowly changes the entire operational culture of a team. People start showing up prepared, debates become sharper, and decisions actually stick.
I want to turn this over to you, the listener. Think back over your career. What is the absolute worst meeting you've ever attended specifically because of a missing or terrible agenda? Tell us in the comments. We've all suffered through these horror stories, and analyzing where they went wrong is the best way to learn. And if you're new here, subscribe so you don't miss next week's deep dive.
I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We spent this entire time dissecting the rigor required to write a truly effective agenda, the precise language, the categorization, the deep preparation. If every single meeting demands this much deliberate thought and effort just to justify its existence, might adopting this rigorous standard naturally force us to have fewer but significantly better meetings overall?
The ultimate organizational filter. Now, that is a beautiful thought. Until next time.